Welcome to Lat B, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Express delivery included.
Lat B, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the Lat B podcast.
Welcome back, episode 212. If you're following Lat B, if you're subscribing, you're making money. You're welcome, fans. Tell a friend, that's all we ask, because what a morning after we have had. There's people waking up all sorts of groggy after last night. It was a star-studded event. We told you guys to watch. We told you guys it was going to be a profitable weekend, and we had every single one of our bets come through. As far
everything
as
we talked about,
our Bandits bonus, and just the free picks if you're following that Zol tonight at Weakneck Baby. You know you can always get at us at Lesbo and the Bean. On Twitter, we are on IG as well. That Instagram has been blowing up. Now that we're starting to get all these graphics set in together and, kind of showing off here. 10 of 13. Ooh, that feels nice. And we were split up throughout the night.
yeah, we didn't have the same picks at all. I mean, some of the same picks.
Sure.
What we call the OBVSs, the OBs. But other than that, it was an exciting night of fights. It was a pay-per-view that, I never illegally stream, but this one I definitely did not illegally stream.
And it was worth it. Man, what main card it was. The main events, all of them came through. We were a little...
Speaking of stream, rough start ESPN.
Truth.
ESPN. I almost B-shopped it. I almost had to, I have to find an illegal stream. This is crazy. Every time I kept trying to do it, I was getting stressed out. It kept saying, unable to blah, 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 error, unable to blah, blah, blah. And I tried 50 times, and I was thinking also in my head, please do not be charging my credit card 50 times. I was like, please. But then I got, OCD about it. You better come through. It was halfway through the Tai Tuivasa fight. I'm like... I was just trying to put the stream on to pacify me for the time being while I could get this to work. So just in case it didn't go through, I'm like, whatever. If it charges me, I'll call my cable or my app company, whatever. They're usually good about refunds. But it was a stressful. We missed the first 2 rounds. 3. We missed the whole first fight.
3 rounds, but we were catching a little bit of it on that Twitterverse. Unfortunately, here for myself, one of the first few times that I didn't get to fully watch the preliminaries. I could only watch from my phone because someone had to be born on some day and they wanted to eat fondue and I was puked and we got out of there early. It was a fun time, but not as fun as the fights. What bits I did catch of those first couple fights was not the best news. Unfortunately, it was the one where we both took kind of a hit, and it was not right from not only us, the crowd. We heard boos, saw boos all over the Twitterverse. We had Caitlin Chukagian come in against our girl, JoJo Clark. Calderwood. Woo! Joanne Calderwood, though, almost doubling up on strikes, essentially.
Even point-wise, if you look at a DK score, for example, we're just using this for example, not that we are sponsored or condone gambling.
Agreed.
But JoJo Calderwood got the exact same amount of points as Chukagian without the win decision.
Without the 30 points.
So she was significantly more strikes, and I was surprised. And you know who else was surprised at the decision? Chukagian. So was Calderwood. Both of them were equally as surprised.
So were the fans. Dare I even say, Joe Hogan was also a little detested.
I didn't want to be it was close, so it wasn't an egregious, which you're going to hear this word a lot going forward, but, and I was super biased. My girl, I thought this is when I noticed, I don't think the judges are noticing leg kicks.
Right.
If you would have saw how awesome of a job Calderwood was doing the entire first round, just picking apart Chukagian's legs, but I only think people were noticing strikes. Boxing strikes, and it was kind of disappointing because damage being done, and obviously by significant strikes being thrown, Calderwood was winning this match. So
this is something that we have to take into the future. That's why we do this type of a show, because we can remember, hey, Chicago doesn't count leg kicks, so somebody who has a good leg strike acumen might not be as beneficial, and we come up with this type of garbage decision making because I just look into the stats. Calderwood won that fight.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it's really disappointing because she would have been in the 90-point range on DraftKings. But whatever, going forward, Chukagian also, she said she deserved her shot. And personally, I'd rather Chukagian be fed to the dragon, Shevchenko, than my sweet Jojo Calderwood.
Let her keep making cupcakes.
Yeah, let Jojo keep working up. She definitely deserves to be fighting on a main card of that same bout. Like, Jojo fights Jessica I next, if Jessica I fights ever again, but we'll talk about that when we will
get there. What a morning she's having.
It's maybe the worst morning after. No. It may be the second worst morning.
There was a couple throughout the night, but it was definitely a fun one that we got to moving forward with these older guys. We had a debuting fighter with Gregor Povov coming in, losing to the longtime veteran, former belt holder, Eddie Wineland, TKO round number 2, 4 minutes, 47 seconds. Eddie Wineland tooled up the non-UFC level striker here. If you listen to the breakdown, you're saying, oh, Emmanuel might have seen something on tape, and hate myself that I talk about myself in the third person. But, you could see it. He's a one-dimensional type of striker, and Eddie Wineland is a UFC caliber fighter, even with all that part-time gigs and stuff. So Eddie Wineland against the top echelon of the division isn't going to fare as well. But against the debuter, money all day. And you see why money all day. That's a veteran right there.
The only thing I have to say about this fight, Eddie Wineland looked good in this whole fight. I don't want to jump too high because, like you're saying, a debuter. And Popov didn't really look great in too many places. Eddie Wineland, after the fight, was walking around twisting his mustache over and over again. And I just wanted to be like, hey, dude, you're literally the last one to the mustache party. Like, stop acting like you're so cool with your big, huge wax stash. Like, you're the last one. The party's over. Like, there's little ethnic ladies walking around cleaning up streamers off the floor. And, like, that little vacuum you hear going in the corner. And he's, like, walking into the mustache party, twisting his mustache. Anyways, yeah, so
if you're not Ian McCall or Pat Cummins, that's pretty much it as far as this point. Those are the guys that have stabled it.
I liked Eddie everywhere. It's going to be a tentative going forward because he was going against a greenhorn.
Definitely moving forward with Povov. Do you think that he gets any wins at this division, 145 pounds?
I didn't really love anything. I just thought he was a punching bag. And the best thing I would say is him kind of like when he was taking strikes a lot of the time. You know how you always say a guy's hurt when they make notice on their face of like
they shake it
smiling and shaking their head like, oh yeah, you think you got me? You're like, that hurt him. He did that most of the fight where it was just like
come on.
He just couldn't get anything together.
So definitely someone to probably be putting money against, especially someone on the ground. We saw Wineland really highlight his striking there, but I have a sneaking suspicion that he's also going to be bad on the ground, whoever decides to take him there.
I agree. I totally agree.
Moving on to the next fight, we have Darren Stewart defeating Bevan Lewis, the favorite, via third round decision. This is one that you, Cheney, came in all over. You were saying Stewart was going to use some of that veteranship that Uriah Hall did and really take over in the fight, and apparently that's exactly what happened.
This one was so drastically different. It was surprising almost, like Chukagian and Calderwood. Leg kick heavy, and I was nervous for Stewart. Are they going to notice these leg kicks? But by the time the fight went on, he made it count where he was kicking out his full ankle out from under him, where it was bringing Lewis all the way to the ground.
Wow.
It was insane. And Stewart, all cardio problems, I have to say, are fixed. He looked very scary in this fight. Lewis could not get anything together. I would be real surprised knowing what his score was on this. I didn't play him anywhere.
Stewart?
Yeah. No, Lewis.
Oh, Lewis?
Stewart was a low scorer as well.
Bevan was pretty low. It was pretty low. I had a little bit of exposure, and he actually hurt some of my cards. I think it was in the 24-point range. Oof. For like 8.
This might have been a stay-away fight altogether. Neither guy did great.
Right. I had limited exposure on him, but definitely good from what we saw.
I won on every single one of my DK cards. Every single one.
I won on 13 of my 16 cards.
That's great.
16 cards. So three cards I didn't cash on, but all my heavy duty cash, money. If you're following here at
Because even the
LabB.
fights that we, like, I still had Calderwood in places, but she didn't hurt me at 71 points. Like, she didn't really kill me at all, even though she lost. She won. We all know. And then we'll talk about the other fights when we get there. But this one, I did have Stewart in places, but he wasn't the worst because he was the underdog.
I think it was 86 points Stewart got, roughly. Am I wrong with that?
It was like 46.5.
Okay, I could be wrong. I didn't have any exposure to Stewart on here. Again, limited Bevan.
But yeah, the places that I played heavy didn't hurt me so bad. And even with Tai Tuivasa, I had Ivanov on just as many as him. So places where, you know, we'll go into it. We go into it, but nothing. It was a great night of fights.
Moving forward with either one of these fighters, where do you go with Bevan now that you've seen him start to his striking is what he likes to do in there. He got picked apart by the dentist, who is a good striker. I guess he's really turned it up in his last camp, but he does have
I was nervous too because the
experience.
dentist walked in with the surgical mask on, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is corny. What is it with this cringe fest of a fucking
fight
UFC
week?"
Fights? Yeah, we didn't even talk about any of that.
We got right. Well, we were so pumped with all the graphics and everything and showing off. We didn't even get into the pre-fight week stuff, but nothing really happened for these fights and the pre-fight stuff.
With Henry
Cejudo, Jessica I, all-time level. The
Here we go, evil. Here we go.
Woo, woo.
Here we go, evil. Here we go.
Woo, woo. You're welcome, Evil Eye.
Evil Eye has like a deep-ass vein, and her voice is a little husky, and it could just be her voice, but she has kind of a mild testosterone glib on there. A little...
You said it. You said it, not me.
A little lean.
But she had practiced that. If you didn't watch the embeddeds, she had that planned out at the pre-fight warm-up weigh-ins. At the pre-fight weigh-ins as well, or warm-ups, we had T-Ferg breakdancing it up. Cerrone saying, hey, I ain't gonna do this breakdancing shit. I ain't gonna come out here and dance and sing.
He wouldn't even warm up for them, but he said I'd take pictures of them.
With every single person in. That's why we love Cowboy Cerrone. He is just, knows what the fans want and gives it to them.
But we'll talk about it when we get there. Look back at that now. He looks sick. He didn't look great.
Interesting.
He looked sick there. Now knowing what you know.
Yeah, he's trying to rest it and not give up. Interesting now to look forward, but hindsight 2020 now that we're looking at it. But I agree, that is not an aspect that I thought of. Either way, you know what side we were on, so we were good.
Yeah, I think that was fine.
It worked out. But moving on to Yan.
Oh, yeah, but real quick, if you didn't see Henry Cejudo, the other cringe thing besides Here We Go Evil was Henry Cejudo with gold medal, gold belt, gold crown.
What? He didn't get sponsored by Burger King?
I know, and he really was just leaning into being that guy, but I think it's going to work for him. It's kind of schlick.
Well, it wouldn't have been schlick if it didn't work out the way it did.
True. But, yeah, we'll talk about
that was all dependent on that win. But yes, it was bad. He brought out the snake at just the pre-presser.
And did the snake slam like you did with TJ.
I'm like, no, you get rid of the snake thing and you just go magic. You don't lean back into the old fight because you already won that.
And he already lost because he had to tell people, well, it's because his nickname's Magic. Like, no. If you have to explain the joke, it's not a good joke.
Thank you. He didn't only do this at the pre-fight presser, Henry Cejudo. He ended up doing at the first pitch of the Cubs game, wearing a crown, which he had never adorned before, gold medal and belt. Thank you, Henry Cejudo.
We'll talk about it when we get there, but that's the actual, we're giving our honest feelings at the time.
Yes.
It's not just us. The entire internet all together in a unison went, eee. Anyways.
On to Yoksan Yan versus Angela Hill. Three-round decision. There was people really upset about this. Joe Rogan really didn't like this. He didn't think the leg kicks mattered, but Yan ended up having slightly more volume and just pushing the pressure on Hill a bit more. It's kind of what we expected with this fight. It would go to decision and it would be more Angela Hill trying to counter-strike, but getting just a little bit more volume on her side. Controversial split. How do you feel it went down? I had Yan. I thought it went, again, as we were saying. So I'm not surprised.
This is the best I've seen Angela Hill look in a really long time. She was putting together her combinations really nicely. Sometimes she was telegraphed, but I actually said before this went to decision, if this goes either way, I won't be mad. It was that close of a fight.
Right.
And I kind of think that's the way you had to go with it. I don't know. I haven't looked at the fight metrics yet on who actually outscored the other. But to my eyes, I wonder how much Joe Rogan's coaching helped Angela Hill with this fight.
Controversial? How do you feel about this? Because that is bad pool.
So
That's
there was
bad
one time
pool.
Joe Rogan was screaming so loud at Hill to like, you got to pull her closer. He was like totally coaching her, where Anik actually had to be like, hey, like.
The non-athlete.
Yeah, it was.
The true pro, John Anik, always coming in to save the day.
Yeah, it was just kind of an odd thing. It was a close fight. The longer the fight went on, I felt like Angela Hill was slowly losing the fight, but she looked good out of the gate. And as much shit as I was kind of talking about her, I felt like this is my first, like, a mild. This was like an appetizer of eating my words in the night. There's definitely a meal of eating my words that comes later in the night. But even though Jan pulled out the decision, I kind of wiped my brow like, whew.
Agreed.
Thank you.
You win some, you lose some. You ended up winning some if you were on Yan this time around. But as far as the stock with Angela Hill, yeah, she did. She did look like she would finally had started to work on that cardio a bit more against the high level, high output type of striker in there, and wasn't intimidated as much. In the division, they both have many fights. I don't think they really go anywhere.
And Angela Hill, I'm just impressed with how many fights she's doing. She's got to be one of the people that's fighting the most frequently up there. So, yeah, I don't know if either of them will be contenders, but Jan's young, and I like what Angela Hill's doing right now. So, it's exciting.
Not to give it tons of weird props, but with this quick fighting, Donald Cerrone type of style as well, when you work in this tier system, when it's about how many times you fight, all of a sudden, you're getting 15, 20 grand, 25 grand in a year really quick. So she is definitely optimizing the amount of money she's making. And
isn't it the more, every fight you fight longer, the bigger your contracts get?
Exactly.
You know, so she's growing. She's taking small little rungs up the ladder. They're not leaps and bounds.
Right. And I don't think
she ain't getting paid like a heavyweight, but
ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Moving on to 145 pounds, we had Calvin Kattar come in against Ricardo Lamas. TKO round number 1, 4 minutes and 6 seconds. I mean, 37-year-old Lamas here, giving him a little bit of a break. I did have him be my contrarian play as far as I felt on my DK cards. Even though I had him on a bunch of heavy hitters, he was one of my cheaper guys. I still cashed on those cards because my heavy hitters came in so heavy that it balanced itself out essentially. So I didn't take down any tournaments, but I tripled my money up on DraftKings. Easy.
Same.
Easy.
Same.
It was.
And I had him on one card. I had him on my E card.
You still cash?
I still cashed on that card.
Exactly. So Kattar striking really coming about.
He was awesome though. To have Kattar on your cards was over 100 points. I don't remember, 111, 121, something like that.
Somewhere in that range. But if you watch the weigh-ins, Kattar looked bodied up. He looked better than he'd ever look at a weigh-in. For me, I was just like, woo.
He looked so good in there. He just put on a clinic in there, and I didn't know what Lamas. I mean, they were throwing. It was a very exciting fight. They just stood and threw, but Kattar just looked a step ahead the entire fight. And wow, the question that came in from at Preston Everfit on Twitter. So do you think it's time for Ricardo Lamas to get on out of here, or do you think he's got fight left in his?
100% time to get on out of here, Mr. Lamas. It is just. Kattar is on his way up. I do agree that he's going to be in that top 5 here soon, top 10 at the very, very least. But Lamas, with these young guys, it's where he has to prove himself and show that he can keep it competitive. And he wasn't able to even do that in there. He was just pretty much a one-sided beating.
Is Kattar so
that good?
Yeah, where later, a year from now, it'll be like, well, Lamas lost to Kattar, but look at Kattar right now. No one's upset at him for that. So I think Kattar looked that good. I think he looked that good. I almost don't want to count Lamas out now. But if he's fighting a no-name guy, there might be room for you to make money going forward because people are going to bet on Lamas for his name alone, even if he got brutally knocked out in one fight. Is he on a losing streak?
He is not. I believe he won his last fight via knockout Darren Elkins. Maybe his last two.
Oh, okay.
So, also, though, an aging fighter who's known to take damage in there.
So, yeah, is he just like... then you might almost want to be nervous on Kattar if he's fighting a whole bunch of oldie chinnies.
He knocked out Shane Burgos, when he was on
I
hype
don't think
training.
that of him, but just being I thought he looked so good in there.
It was definitely a showcase.
But what is it? Does it make him ranked? Do we even give him a fight that we pick out for him, or is no?
Guaranteed top 10, right? Has to be inside that top 10 next fight.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's he fighting at? 145.
145 pounds. It's a murderer's row all of a sudden at 145 as well. Yeah. Completely separate from lightweights. I mean, 45ers coming out of the woodworks. I can't believe Kattar's at 145 pounds when I see that.
I think a good 145er for him to fight. I think Kattar versus Jeremy Stephens is 135.
I was about to say Josh Emmett.
I don't mind that fight at all. That's a great fight. Have they already fought?
I don't think they have.
If they haven't, that's
Alpha male wrestler, knocked out a few guys.
Firefight.
That's a fun one. That came out of nowhere. I like it. So, moving forward with Lamas, please. But do you feel like he gets on out of here? Or do you feel like Lamas chooses to stay in the division?
I think he should stay. I mean, I hope he's still a bad MF, but maybe. I thought he was glashed out all along. I will be voting against him.
Moving on to 115 pounds, we had an upset with Alexa Grasso coming in against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Third 3-round decision. Grasso coming in with the cardio. A little bit of doubt in Grasso. She ended up coming in to be about even money line against KK, but not only was the cardio on point for Grasso, her movement, her boxing really coming through on here. Did KK start to look a little bit of her age finally in there? Her wars. She's been a little bit battle-worn as of late, and it's really accumulating now. Or did Grasso have, again, that Kattar type of showing where it's like, no. She went to the drawing board, took a year off after losing to Suarez, and was like, all right, this is what I need to do. And, man, did she showcase here. She was a high scorer on DraftKings if you ended up playing her. I did not. I actually pretty much stayed away from this
I stayed all the way away from it, and I wish I had the foresight to have played Grasso. But in reality, I want to get high on Grass. Oh, I really do. You've been high. You've wanted to since before she even came in. But this is, in reality, I hate to say this, KK looked washed in there. She looked like she couldn't get anything together. She looked like she was out of her element. She looked like she was outclassed. She looked like she had no business inside the octagon in this 115-pound division anymore. It was uncomfortable to watch. I'm glad I stayed far away from KK on this fight. It was I was like looking at her seriously thinking, I cannot believe that is a woman who even stayed in a fight with JJ for as long as she did.
It adds up on you.
It was really insane. It was insane. There was a time I thought she was out on her feet. I thought she was going to get knocked out again. Grasso was putting everything together.
The boxing
this was the meal
crisp.
of eating my words. This was the meal of eating my words. Grasso, I'm not going to be the last one on the train with her. I think she's one to watch. She was putting it together too well. But don't get as high on her as everybody else. I think it's going to be sneaky. I still think she's...
The opponent, again, might have not shown up as well.
Yes.
We both are here kind of saying it's... KK might be at the end of her run as far as she's had her best fights behind her by this point of her career, where Grasso can go back to the gym, take a year off, and just keep training because she's in that mid-20s, late 20s type of range. So she has a long career in a very short fight time. So liking what we're seeing from Alexis Grasso. Moving forward.
Love it. It was a perfect amount of stride to take step up wise, where it was like, looking good, girl, liking what I'm saying.
Totally agreed. Moving on to a profile fight. If you're following here, you're making more money because we told you guys he was a favorite, but it was going to be a showing. that wrestling working in reverse, we had Aljo Sterling coming in against Pedro Munoz in a 3-round decision. But man, if we had profile or showcases of the night, Aljamain Sterling was one of those guys. Kattar was one of those guys. Grasso was one of those guys. And we ain't even gotten to the main card. We had so many just iconic making moments for some of these fighters. And I feel like here, we've been saying about Aljo, he's putting it all together. And it showed here. Again, that wrestling in reverse. If Munoz can't get it to the ground to use that grappling and striking-wise, Aljo's turned it around once he got knocked out. You can see a dramatic change in his game plans. And here is the culmination of it. He's fighting for that number 1 contender spot. And I feel like after this showcase, there's no way he doesn't get the number 1 contender or a belt contention at 135 pounds. That's it. He shouldn't be fighting a number 2, 3, or 4 guy. It's the number 1 or the champ, as far as I feel like for Sterling's next fight. How do you feel about that? Am I getting overexcited?
Yeah, so what do you think the UFC is going to do? Make him fight Faber? No, I thought Aljo looked great out there. There was times that Pedro, even though he was moving around still with his hands up, I thought, is he knocked out right now? He's just taking so many punches right to his face. Aljo just looked like he was putting on a clinic out there. Aljo looked crisp, clean when he came in. He looked like he didn't take strikes anywhere, took minimal damage. I liked everything I saw from Aljamain Sterling, and I think we called this correctly. I think we stay on this like perfect streak with both these guys.
These new game plans he's had.
And just both these dudes. Everyone that was super high on Pedro Munoz because of the Cody knockout. Aljo knocked Cody out. A lot of people are going to knock Cody out, just so you guys know. Well, I think everyone knows now. Now. So, yeah, I liked Aljo here. I like him.
Pedro Munoz still, both of these guys, they're going to be around for a while. Pedro Munoz can fight anybody at 135 pounds and be absolutely fine. I like what you're saying with Aljo. He, again, can only fight for the belt, essentially, or number 1 contender spot.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about his chances going forward. Or, yeah, do you think maybe him and Moraes take time off and that's who he fights next? A rematch of that? Because that's a gnarly knockout for him. Do you think he needs to recoup that, or do you think he goes right to fighting Henry?
It's one of those two is exactly what I'm saying. One of those two. It doesn't matter who of those it is. Yeah. It's only those two. Nobody else for Aljo. At this point, everybody else comes knocking. Yep, exactly. He's earned it at this point. So then we go on to one of the bigger favorites of the entire night. We had Tatiana Suarez coming in against Nina Asneroff, the champs. Boo. Here, double boo card. We had a few boos come in throughout the ones.
Double boo of the night.
Well, I think it was Grasso KK was a double boo as well.
I didn't like Grasso, but now she's a double boo.
Now it is post fight.
Yeah, post fight. I'm like, okay, I see what everyone finally see. Like, I get it now. Wow, she looked amazing.
I feel like we were spot on this one as well. Everyone calling for a finish because she finished Carla Esparza, but here, if you're following that beat, you know that we were saying, hey, people are underrating Asneroff. She's going to be able to stuff some of these takedowns, especially as the fight goes on. And dare I say, we actually started to see some holes in Suarez's games against the high-level striker in there. Asneroff still has fights in her left. She does feel like she's at the end of her career. So if she steps away, I don't feel horrible about it, but I do think she can maybe make another run at it. Suarez, though, as we're saying, and we said on the breakdown, she's got good takedown defense, and she stuffed, I believe, 8 of 12 takedown attempts. Again, the time she was able to get down, it was hard for her to get back up. But that's the fight game. And again, Suarez is that much of a beast. Where do we go with Suarez other than she's the next title contender? She's the next belt owner, right? Because it was 3 and 2. Suarez being number 3. Asneroff being number 2.
Next fight is Suarez Andrade somewhere.
Agreed. And then could we do Asneroff versus
Rose? I love that. I think that's a great fight for Nina, actually. You know, the thing I don't like here is I feel like Tatiana's getting all this hate when in reality what should be happening right now is Nina getting all this love. Like, Tatiana isn't awful. She's a super young fighter who this fight is only going to make her grow leaps and bounds. And she actually, in a spot when they were just on their feet where people thought she was going to get tooled up, she looked good. She had some nice kicks out there, had some decent hands. She did have a lot of takedown attempts, so it says where her game needs to be tighter, but I think in more what it should say is how great Nina's takedown defense is.
I totally agree.
Almost went in there against, the female Khabib, so to speak, and really stood her ground. I think she should get no hate here, and I think make Nina your dark horse. She is going to be the forever underdog going forward, especially against somebody in the likes of Rose. And I might say it right now. I think Nina can beat Rose. I would put money on it right now. If that was a fight that they already put on any one of those sites, I think Nina can put together the game plan. I think she has good coaching, and I think her and her.
Are you willing to put a bet on that right now?
I think I could.
Ooh, I think I could too. You know that we be loving some Nina here, though. We've been longtime fans for a while, and we made so much money on her. And again, this is what's it was a great showing for the loser here. I don't think either one of them loses credibility here.
No, and I think this just makes Nina or Tatiana put together what she needs to take it to the next level, which she is going to need to be at that next level too. But hey, you know what everyone should be saying? Who has more holes looking in their game right now? Andrade, who got tooled up the entire fight except for one slam. My bet is that slam you're not going to be able to do to Tatiana.
100%.
So it's just, there's some interesting facets going forward, but hey, UFC, can you do something about this fucking picture that you have for Tatiana Suarez? It is not cute. She's a cute girl. I think she's a cute girl, and every picture I try to find her, I'm like,
With all love, I don't want to say it.
No, say it.
She'd be
You're like,
top 4
who's
finalist.
that Vincente Luque in the wig?
I would. She'd be a top 4 finalist in Drag Race Season 11.
Yeah, I think that she is a cute girl. I love her personality, and I don't know if it's the angle, the lighting,
it's the angle.
Something, but I know likey. And to boot, Nina, cute girl as well. This picture that you I looked for her pictures. I just feel like, can we get one where Nina doesn't look like my teacher scolding me and she makes me move my desk to the side of the room away from everybody else's? Jeannie, can you stop talking to everyone and move to the side of the room? Yes, Miss Ann Saraf.
How do you feel about this post-fight coming out? Suarez saying that she actually injured her neck, which she's had issues with prior to, and that's why she didn't get the finish. Not necessarily the finish, or didn't get to showcase as much as she did because her training was inhibited. Do you think that worked in Nina's favor? And how do you feel like she just disclosed it in general?
It's almost like whatever. It's all about being ready on that day and being ready to go on that day, and you were still injured and you still pulled it through. And I think everyone just needs to stop making excuses, because Nina's a bad bitch. She's a bad bitch, and just be like, damn, Nina's a bad bitch. I didn't give her enough respect. You know what? It's not our fault. Living in the shadow of a champ must be a little hard, but she's a bad bitch in her own right. That's what I would say about Nina.
Totally agreed.
So but I would never call her a bitch. I'd be like, she's a bad bee. Nina, don't hit me.
Not even Nina. Amanda, don't hit me, girl. Don't put your hands on me like that.
I'd be like, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. There's a picture you can look up of them walking down the hallway, and Amanda looks jacked and beefed. She looks beefed out.
I know we're not going to have a slide for this real quick, but did you end up hearing that recently in Brazil, we ended up having another robbery of, was it Santos, who was just robbed? I saw it this morning.
Andrade
got robbed last week at gunpoint. This week it ended up being, I want to say Thiago Santos at gunpoint. I could be absolutely wrong.
That's scary.
Absolutely scary, and it's a gun, so they were like, here you go. Doesn't matter if I'm a UFC fighter, but we had Diana actually in there knocking out her mugger as well. She got mugged. You living in Brazil, you living on rough times.
Yeah, everywhere we're living on rough times.
Truth.
Are they allowed to have guns in Brazil?
I don't know if they're allowed, but they do.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. If you're following, if you want to get in on any of these great picks, I feel like our main card, our pay-per-view, was where we really shined here at Lappy, where we were picking all sorts of great cards. You're following at Zoltanite, at Weakneck Baby, at Lesbo and the Bean, on Instagram, at LatB. MMA.
It's like this with an underscore if you're on our YouTube.
100%. If you want to get something for your loved ones, remember, you can always find it at Lather & Co. with that 15%
Oh, it's
off.
latherandcompany.com.
Latherandcompany.com. You're going to use LATB15 to get that 15% off exclusively for our friends here. We're trying to help you out. Help you get some of those maybe Father Day gifts out of the way. No, that's coming right around the corner.
Yes, it is. And there's a lot of good stuff you can get there.
And I know, call me a cricket eating fan, but I love that natural soap.
Cricket eating. You know, that would be your name. That
Cricket
would be your
eater.
walker.
But I love that patchouli smell. It's very earthy. I think it smells good on me. I get compliments from all sorts of ladies when I'm out in town wearing it. It's definitely a male-friendly scent if you're looking out there, fellas. If not, all of you other fans, you got every single scent you can absolutely think of under the sun. Go on their website. They got tons of stuff. 4 days.
Yeah, and you can get the code LATB15. Get that 15% off. Get that free shipping and handling if you're in the continental United States. And if you're not, they'll make it work for you. If you're one of the people and you just order just enough or just a little and they can find something cheaper for you, they'll say, hey, you should add this on your order or take this away, maybe get this next time. They'll help you out. So it's a great company and they're doing everything right. Like even their palm oil, if you get palm, I didn't know any of this stuff. They kind of told us.
We had a briefing. We had to sit down with the bigwigs.
So if you get palm oil, apparently it like really affects the orangutans and takes away their habitat. And there's hardly any humane palm oil being gotten for any other products, but they go to this company that replants entire habitats and only takes it humanely and gets it from all their really good resources. So everything is the best of the best if you're a friend of the animal. Latherandcompany.com. And we can go on to the main...
Would you just say, though, it's cruelty-free? Cruelty-free.
Cruelty-free stuff.
Unlike the pay-per-view, which there was a lot of cruelty set up in some of these fights. And we're going to get there the morning after. Woo! My eye hurts. That can go all the way around. So we had... Again, if you're following that Twitter, you had a free bet come out earlier on the show. I feel like we were on top of it here at LATB. Got that free bet out early in the week. The line actually kept going in favor for Tai Tuivasa, becoming a bigger favorite throughout the night, where most of the lines throughout the week as it went on tightened up. This one got more spread out, and I kept putting money on Ivanov. I feel like you can read the tweet saying this was going to turn into a slow, methodical fight. It was going to mainly be striking oriented.
Ivanov was like your Bitcoin. You were like, I just kept chipping away.
Exactly. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, wow. I put 4 different bets on here, all of them for increasing plus money.
Ease, free money, prop pick.
Boo, 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 boo. Thank you.
You
Jesse,
did. You
what
put
was
it out
in
on Monday or something. So early in the week. So if they were following you at Zoll tonight, they would have gotten this information and they could have added it to any parlay and sweetened the deal.
Sweeten the deal. It wasn't
or
the only underdog.
Or should it be like ease pot sweetener?
Oh,
whatever, clever name. We're open to whatever. Throw us whatever.
Fans, if you like one, throw it out there. But we're doing it here. I don't care what you say. Everybody has good nights. Everybody has bad nights. We making it here.
This is one of the ones I got wrong, and I stayed with Tai Tuivasa, but I ended up playing Ivanov on my cards and then staying away from Tai Tuivasa entirely. But I'm pretty good with picking with. I like Ivanov. I thought this was a dead-on call, and I was just a little nervous and let the odds push me a little when I should have been listening to @LATB_MMA. Then it would have helped out. So I think Ivanov was definitely one of those sneaky plays of the night, especially for his value.
Did you end up seeing the late submission attempt, round number 2 for Ivanov, holding on to that submission a little bit longer? Fans getting a little angry.
Looked like he put him out a little bit.
Tai tapping multiple times, but it was...
let go. Tai tapped way after the bell. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened after the bell. This was the first one that was far more egregious than stuff that happened later. This was held way long, where the ref actually was like, all right, let go.
100%. But hey, at LATB, until you get caught, you know that we're cashing in on that. Be as dirty as you want. Just wait till my bet cashes, as we said here all along. So that was one of those guys that's always trying to win. Love him, hate him. He's always looking out for your money plays. by doing that kind
Are
of
these
stuff.
guys even high enough ranked to make a next fight for him? It's just, or we'll see you next time, and they're big boys.
Anybody. I don't think it matters.
The weird part about this fight, Ivanov is going to be the underdog going forward again, and Tai Tuivasa is going to be the favorite going forward again.
100% because he's a personality at this point.
Yep. Everybody likes Tai Tuivasa, and
He'll
you were
drink-
pointing out that it looks like, you didn't say these words, but he looks like he has that juggalo figure tattooed in his belly button.
I don't feel like I said that. That's brutal. I think you were telling me that's like a part of his religion or
He'll get
whatever.
a tattoo in a belly button. I don't know if it's part of his religion. I just said that Tyson Pedro also had it tattoo in his belly button.
Because they're brothers, or brother-in-laws.
That seems like a painful ass.
I agree. I feel like you're tattooing your soul at that point.
That's your umbilical cord.
Yeah, right? I feel like that's what connects you to everything else.
That's a way of saying stop being such a mama's boy.
So, definitely with time moving forward, I feel like there's still money to be made against him, as you're saying. I think he is going to be a favorite moving forward, and it's not right. Tai Tuivasa has big holes
just ain't right.
in his game. Moving on to another heavy favorite of the night, we ended up having Peter Yan coming in against Jimmy the Terra Rivera. I don't think that's his nickname.
No, that was a great nickname, though. Good
Oh,
job.
it is El Terra.
I was like so impressed.
So,
people were fucking spitting at their radios right now.
yeah, you son of a
Because people
lappy.
listen to old radios, like their whole family sits around the radio.
Hey kids, come on. They're back on, guys.
Come on, let bees on.
If you're on YouTube, you're like, oh, warming your hands by the glow of the TV.
And we have the 4 people on YouTube that watch us.
Definitely. Thanks to all the thousands of fans out there, by the way, all over the world. I was seeing some love out of the Netherlands. We're getting some constant fans, by the way, out there. Really supporting that, B.
Some say we have a face for radio, so they'd rather listen. But if you aren't, or if you like any kind of visuals, then maybe you could try it out and swing on over to our YouTube. Or if you're ever wondering what things we're putting up, or hopefully we're going to go live. I felt like if we would have gone live, even if we were on a 20-second delay, we were still saying everything before Joe Rogan and DC and
1 million %.
Not to pat ourselves on the back. But we saw everything way before. We saw hurt legs. We saw bruises. We saw, we were soothsayers.
Definitely.
We're totally patting ourselves on the back.
That's where
It was a chatty, exciting room, though, last night.
It was. I mean, but we had great fights. These fights were still exciting. I'd say Tai Tuivasa versus Ivanov, not so exciting. But this Rivera versus Yan fight was, again, decided favorite came through. But Rivera just really didn't get much going. That pressure really keeping him in the back pocket. Really controversial information as far as the third round, because the rounds pretty much easily went to Yan as far as I considered, especially when Yan ended up knocking down Terra Rivera in the last seconds of both first and second round. So it could have even been 10-8 rounds for some people's scorecards. I still had a 10-8, but Yan really ended up solidifying those. Jimmy Rivera, there wasn't anything. It's just he was at the top level of the game a few years ago, but with his layoffs and just the sport moving forward, I feel like he's going to have a couple more fights, but I don't see a title contender in there anymore, where he was at the cusp. He was the number one guy for a while. Because of injury, he wasn't able to, but since then, these new young men are coming in the sport, and they learned from what he was doing 5-6 years ago, and now are able to beat him.
Would you understand what I meant if I said Jimmy Rivera is the new Uriah Faber?
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
I totally agree with that. Anyone back in the day? Yeah, I'll pick Rivera.
Yeah.
Today, though, with this current climate, sorry.
Yeah.
Not going to work.
He's like the guy once you start getting into the topper names of the division, but he's never going to be making any kind of runs anytime soon. But he's well-rounded enough that you're going to have that skill set down on lock if you want to even go close to the top echelon.
The leg kicks, though, making a big factor for Rivera. He had Yan all sorts of hurt both legs. Yan biting down on his mouthpiece, able to be moving forward and still having good movement with compromised legs, because he switched his thing. Yeah. There was multiple times.
He's not going to be walked in for a few days, and I actually think there's a lot to be said about the way Yan handled those leg kicks and the way maybe Cejudo handled leg kicks later on in the night. I think
100%.
I was actually really surprised at how there was even a point, like there was one leg kick that Yan, I thought this guy can't. I thought he was a goner. The leg kick was so hard, I felt it. Like my leg fell out from under me. I fell in the kitchen.
It was unreal. But then at the edge of my seat, not only for those kicks, because I'm feeling Jan's pain because I got money on Jan, but Rivera then getting knocked down. This was a profile fight. It was fun. It was so fun, even though it was a great fight. And really, go back and watch it. And both guys did have a good showing. But
Jan shouldn't have been such a heavy favorite. Rivera was one of my. He wasn't. Rivera wasn't my, how you were saying, like Lamas, right? Like my tentative, like my. You're gonna need a low guy here. He's gonna lose, but I think Rivera was a guy that I played as some of my safety bets on my cards, and he got over 40 points. I think he really held it together for a loss against Jan.
Definitely agreed.
Jan was he worth over the 9? Did he get a ton of points?
I feel like he was at 98 points.
Oh, okay.
That he paid it off essentially. Same as Suarez. Suarez ended up being that like 9.5, and she only ended up getting like 92 or 98 points, somewhere in that range as well.
I wish I had a curtain to pull for the next fight, unless you need to talk about Jan.
No, we do not need to talk because he can fight anybody, right?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
So at 155 pounds, we had the people's main event. It's been the new thing to say as far as MMA is concerned, and man, we thought that we were going to be like, all right, I'm done. I'm spent. It's over. We don't need to watch another fight. There's another 2 fights. Who cares what could ever happen? Boy, did those deliver. But so did this fight. As controversial as it is.
Is it weird to say Tony Ferguson's the type of guy to finish somebody at 5 minutes of round number 2?
Right, not for 100%.
450, no.
2 fights in a row that he's finished at 5 minutes.
Tony's the type of guy that likes to finish it on the stool.
I like that. And Cucuy coming through against Donald Cerrone. If you haven't heard about this, you're living under a rock. There was all sorts of hype for it, and
this should have been where you're so right, and we're not coining a phrase. This was the people's fight and the people's champ. I wish the UFC had different belts because it's like a fan pick. It's like the Billboard Music Awards.
Super fight. It's a super fight.
Yeah, it's a super fight all day. It's a super fight. Wow. Wowee.
So the pressure of T-Ferg.
Beforehand, so they're walking to the ring. I felt like Donald Cerrone looked like he had a staph infection on his.
You did. Right, you were saying it under his clavicle, left side.
He looked skinny still. Like he definitely didn't look as plump as the last fight.
He didn't do the workout as you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah, that I didn't pay attention to at all. I didn't think about it until we were already on the show. Yeah.
But he ended up also coming in, kissing his baby, his wife, and then his grandma. But that got me. And
you were.
I was. Come on, God, what? Let's go. I
know, and it's like, real women come equipped with pics and fake breath in the blood in the hill. Chill like fleeing about an old drop top, find about the pimp. Give me a kiss, Grandma.
Exactly. I feel like he was wiping away tears, getting emotional. For all the right reasons, it did help him in that fight because he was getting all sorts of heat put on him, as we were predicting, and so was a lot of other people. Lines closing a little separated here at minus 170, 180 or more for T. Fergan here, but it's, again, that pressure game. Feel like we were spot on saying the body attack of Tony Ferguson is going to add up in here. Not only did that up, the first kick of the first seconds of the round, T. Ferg throws a head kick. It lands flush. Cerrone, if it's any other guy, they probably go down. Cerrone eats it, but his nose is done. Absolutely done.
And he touches it the rest of the fight. But another thing is a lot of people thought Donald Cerrone had the first round. And
I would not agree with that.
If you watch it again, the thing that no one says, and after the whole fight is over, I think John Anik's the only one I have to give credit to for saying it, is people don't realize how little damage Tony's taking. He is rolling with the punches better than any other fighter. You don't even see it till you're watching it in slow motion. But in these flurries, it looks like he's taking damage. But in reality, most of the time, he's not. And he did get a bean right away where he was like bleeding out from under his eye.
Right of the eye, top of the eye.
Oh, top over of the eye. Yeah, but not in a place that it was inhibiting.
But it was a big cut, I was about to say.
It was a deep cut.
It was a big cut. Wasn't bleeding a lot compared to Cerrone. He was getting pretty bloody pretty quick in there. Coming into the second round, Well, the first round, I mean, tons of pressure. What is there to really break down in there? The jab landing nonstop for Ferguson in there, beating Cerrone to the punch most of the time. But Cerrone, even though his head's bobbing around, he's getting a bit rocked in there. He isn't completely out of it. He's still in the pocket. He's taking the damage and just fighting with intent in there. Gah! The memes were heavy throughout the night, and this was one of the best photos. The morning after Donald Cerrone, it's like partying with one of them ladies out in Vegas. You might get a little bit of that pink eye after a long night in Vegas.
I feel like this is going to get us pulled off YouTube.
Because it's age restricted.
It's so gross.
Gnarly.
Like, it looks like somebody flips like a human face upside down. So it's like chin and lips. And so in the second round, Tony Ferguson pieces Donald apart the entire round. He like controls it. It
that
slowly is more, regardless, even if you were somebody
teeps.
totally on Donald's side. Yeah, the teeps that you would think would be coming for Donald Cerrone were coming for Ferguson.
We called it.
And then he, before they even go back, we are discussing it in the room. Donald's not going to have any depth perception out of his eyes. Both of his eyes are so swollen forward. I was like, he's not even going to be able to get off the stool. His eyes are so swollen. Then it leads to a rookie mistake that you're saying.
He even said it. So did Joe Rogan and everybody. Everybody. You could see it. He blew out his nose at the beginning of the third round. Right before the round's about to start. Donald Cerrone clears his nose because he's clogged up, because he's broken in the first round. And you can see it on camera. Donald Cerrone
Tony
panics.
Ferguson says he punches him so much that he sees blood come out, to clear come out, to blood again, to clear again.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. But you could see the pocket of air literally form underneath Donald Cerrone's eyes.
And in his eyelid, which was the craziest part. Somebody's eyelid blew up with air.
And you could see Donald Cerrone starting to push it in. He even said it literally in the cage. He's like, I was trying to push it back in. I knew it was air in there.
And he put so much power in it.
Clearing his nose out.
Up that I bet you he separated his epidermis from itself all the way in. Like the damage he did by doing that. I worry for Donald Cerrone being able to even come back.
Fractured orbital. He was in the ambulance. Proven. That's already guaranteed in there. But you monsters that wanted to see Donald Cerrone get back in there, no.
Look at the best thing about Donald Cerrone, and he's such a trooper, is if you look back at that fight, he was trying so hard to open his eyes as wide as he could. He was like, to go on with the fight. Look, I can see. Poor guy. He couldn't see. I wonder if he'll ever be able to see again, man. That shit is gnarly.
He'll be fine because the doctor stopped it. Rightfully so. This was the right stoppage.
It was.
Nothing good could have come of this.
You're right.
Nothing good. Donald Cerrone would have only gotten beaten up to that side, and Tony would have just said, hey guys, like, I have to do this because I got to win the fight. And that's the type of competitor he is. But Donald Cerrone in there also loses nothing in this other than proving he's one of the toughest men alive. He still has super fights ahead of him. Put him in there against anybody. And I'm going to end up watching a Donald Cerrone fight. But right now, as far as the top echelon, there's not many people that are beating Khabib and Tony right now. And that's why that's the fight to make. But T-Ferg, being an upstanding human being, I don't know how many people have really done this, but he immediately got on the mic and said, hey, that was fucked up, guys, because at the end of that second round, there was a late shot after the horn had sounded. We had one earlier in the night with the submission attempt in Ivanov, but it was Cerrone taking a late shot to the nose, and actually before the fight was called off, Dan Miragliotta going over outside of the cage and looking to make sure that it wasn't the punch that caused the damage to the eye, and it was just a shot. But again, Cerrone being an upstanding human being and saying the late shot didn't do shit, it was his nose as well. T-Ferg though, he's saying, hey, if it's not Khabib, then it's Cerrone. He doesn't mind running it back because he feels it's fucked up. I feel like I've already started to hear online that he's backtracking on that and saying, no, I'm only fighting Khabib, and that's it.
It doesn't even make any sense for him to fight Cerrone again at all. He was piecing him apart, and the outcome wouldn't have been any different, and I think he should just stick with that narrative. Agreed. The outcome wouldn't have been any different on the fight. Tony was piecing him apart, and if you didn't see that happening, or if you're one of the people that it's like, yeah, it did happen close because the bell was like, brr, brr, but he was cocked. Could he have, like, he was already cocked. He said sorry because he realized, oh shit, that was really, like, but he was already mid-cocked enough to know, oh shit, I'm so sorry, my hand was already in mid-flight. And it wasn't the strike that took it. So Donald Cerrone was being outclassed, outworked. And I also have to think Donald Cerrone, like Robbie Lawler, is the kind of warrior that isn't going to fight to have to redo this. He just will move on. He's like, whatever, I'm not going to, like, hold up my whole career for this. I don't think he's a shit where he's going to be like, I need to run that back. I would have had that. I think he's the kind of guy that he's going to be like, I got my ass whooped. Like, I think that's the kind of guy Donald Cerrone is.
Agreed.
So I hope he's okay. And because he is also the, you know, like now Donald Cerrone's the type of guy. He'll be on, you know, with Ariel tomorrow, and his eye will be.
But they have a feud because Ariel criticized. Okay,
on with whoever.
It's gonna be on Luke Thomas.
Is it also awful to somehow think that Donald Cerrone's eye looks like a pussy?
You said it, not me. You said it. Definitely amazing fight as much as what we got.
If El Cucuy doesn't get the Khabib fight, in my opinion, it hurts Khabib's legacy way more than it hurts El Cucuy's. I don't give a shit about that title because all you beat was Ally Aquinta, who got picked apart by Donald Cerrone. So MMA Mass says that he would also get picked apart by Tony Ferguson. And Conor, who's a guy for all intents and purposes that's he's a millionaire that's just doing it for kicks. So whatever.
True.
I just think El Cucuy, people's champion, and I don't know who you could prove it against more than Donald Cerrone to be that title.
100%.
People's champion, El Cucuy. But I don't know. It was a great fight.
It was a great fight. Definitely one that we can sit back and watch and just enjoy non-stop. But we get into the worst morning after for anybody throughout the whole card. You know that we have mixed feelings here.
I would rather, I think, be Evil Eye than Donald Cerrone in this situation.
They both went to the hospital.
Yeah, but getting a knockout and you don't even remember it and you're sitting in a hospital bed eating ice cream, you might have a headache, but that eye from Donald Cerrone...
Yeah, he's got months of rehabilitation with a fractured socket.
Gosh, yeah, he's Josh Emmett.
For sure, but Evil Eye should also take... As far as Lat B standards,
I agree.
6 to 8 months off from something like that.
100.
Because
100.
This was one of the most brutal knockouts. It's going to be on highlight reels for years and years to come. We had Valentina Shevchenko, one of the biggest favorites of all time, against Jessica Evil Eye. The cringe was real. We have mixed feelings here about Jessica Eye, but I will be the first to say that I do not wish something like that on anybody. It was a highlight finish, but... hey, that does something to you. That definitely changes your life for better or worse. Probably not better, actually. Probably for worse, because...
Oh, we even saw her sit up in the ring after... she was almost out longer than the fight.
2.5 minutes, 3 minutes? Like...
it was a minute into the first round, something like that.
It was 26 seconds into the second round.
Oh, second round, I mean. Sorry. Yeah, I remember. The whole first round finished.
The first round...
and pretty much total dominance except for a reversal at the tail end, at the very last second.
We got a profile. It was those body shots. Shevchenko came out and threw left body kicks directly, like pretty much 5 body kicks in a row, and then a couple strikes, and then finished it. But as you were saying, at the end of the round... reversals, little bit of a ground game, but essentially Shevchenko dominated.
Yeah, she took full guard, half guard, got up to crucifix, totally dominated everywhere. The last 10 seconds, 5 seconds, Jessica Eye does a reversal, but you almost could have given it a 10-8, except for that reversal in the final seconds. Second round, Shevchenko comes in.
Throws a body kick, half body kick, and she directs it directly to the head. I didn't defend for it. She was covering the body because those kicks hurt.
I feel like a body kick.
And then it was a head kick.
Yeah, and in the first round, like you were saying, she was setting up that body kick, and Jessica Eye finally, by the end of it, she was starting to do a hard check. But this one, I mean, you could hear it throughout the arena.
Oh, it was a one-hitter quitter.
Like, schlack! Every one of those body hits, too, you could see. The other thing that I said a bazillion times that they also finally DC's like, that happened to me. I'm like, that's John Jones DC. That's exactly was the setup for this Jessica Eye.
Exactly. Soften up the body, then go to the head. Shevchenko showing off all of her skills, but we knew that she could do that in there. We thought it was going to take a little longer. I was giving a little more credit to Jessica Ai. Thought she would go into that 4th round, maybe 5th round, eventually get finished. Thought it would be more on the ground, especially when we saw that 1st round get dominated by Shevchenko. But again, highlight reel finish. Where do you go with Jessica Ai other than a big break? She fights anybody.
A big, huge break. And at this point, Jessica Ai, my piece of advice to you is, if you do decide to come back, use your name value. I think you're one of the bigger stars in MMA because of your tenure, because of how long you've been around. You're one of the bigger WMMA stars. And use that stuff to, in the time being, do Eddie Bravo, like roll in tournaments, not slap jiu-jitsu, stay away from any strikes for over a year. And when you come back, get that money of just being like B-list, A-list celebrity in UFC and don't try to fight for a title again. And it's cool. Like, just make that, you'll be like Cowboy. Just make that money of being like a tenured star that anyone will like to see on their cards. But Jessica is never going to be able to beat Valentina Shevchenko. And Valentina Shevchenko is John Jones of the 125. I think she's going to sit. She has an easy division to clear out compared to her skill level. So I think she'll be able to get up those JJ numbers where it's just where I think she's going to break Ronda's record. She's going to be the biggest or at least the longest WMMA star of all time.
Right. Did we see
and
any
JJ's
holes?
record.
Did we see any holes as far as Shevchenko against Ai? But it was pretty mismatch, a pretty big mismatch, but everybody saw it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the fight, and Valentina had her usual knots up on her head because I think she took like 1 or 2 strikes and little flurries from Jessica. Yeah, I didn't see any holes anywhere. She did everything. She had patience, good ring IQ. Stand-up looked fast and crisp. She is one of the best, well-rounded MMA fighters I've ever seen in my life. She's, if I were to make a movie about her, I'd call it a thing of beauty. And I just mean it by what she's doing in the octagon. It's amazing. Like, in a way of like Tony Ferguson in a totally different style, Shevchenko is an artist. Like, wow.
I think I would call it the bullet.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
That's her doctor.
She did. And Joe Rogan kept saying she's an assassin. She's an assassin. I think she's a sniper. I think she made it quick till I get knocked out. So, yeah, what a fight.
What a fight. Either one. I mean, at 125 pounds, who's the real next contender that's even knocking on the door for Shevchenko?
Anyone who wants to come up through the 125, I think she's just going to beat everybody.
There it is. So, on to the main event, the Bandits bonus, the plus money bet. Got bigger of an underdog, incoming champion, Olympic gold medalist. If you didn't know, the King of Cringe came through yet again, having one of the worst first rounds you've ever seen for anybody in there. Henry Cejudo. Not only did he have to fight off the legs, there was reports at the pre-weigh-ins that there was a reporter standing outside of Henry Cejudo's room, kind of weird, hearing somebody yelling outside of that room.
I have to say, too, before you even go any further, this was my eat my words dessert, because earlier in the day, you had told me this story of, like, hey, there's, like, some inside word, a rumor that
Henry Cejudo was yelling in his room, and he had suffered some sort of a leg injury. Henry Cejudo coming out and saying, what? To Mike Bond, what do I have to do? I'm absolutely fine. He did a bunch of punches, kicks, never bent his ankle, did like a burpee, came back up, but was just like, I'm fine, guys, and went into the ring and ended up, again, that first round. Leg kicks were on point for Marlon Moraes. That high-level striking was at its best. Marlon Moraes has never looked any better. Henry Cejudo was perplexed in there. My bet was, I was like, oh, fuck, here goes the money. There goes the money. Henry Cejudo's, that legs are getting beat up. I'm sorry, I'm being honest.
No.
I was just like, that's almost a 10-8 round.
I was embarrassed for TJ Dillashaw because of how bad Henry Cejudo was getting beat up. I was like, oh my gosh. I was embarrassed for DJ. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Not even close.
Marlon Moraes looked like a Yeti in there in size to Henry Cejudo. He looked enormous, and he just looked better everywhere. He looked brutal. Every time Henry Cejudo tried to come in for any sort of takedown, Marlon Moraes was just like the old Heisman, like, whack! Whack! Like, he was in no damage anywhere the entire first round. Well, most of the first round.
Right.
Somewhere around like the 4-minute mark, 4.5-minute mark, Henry clinches behind his neck and gets in a one or two,
knees.
3 good knees, and then all of a sudden it was like it was like at the end of a hurricane when brutal storm, and then you see like an ibis land to the front yard.
You're like, oh, it's
and then
calm.
you see like a pip of light start to ray through. You're like, holy shit, maybe Henry's alive. Okay. Woo!
That was a tough first round. First round in there. Definitely Henry Cejudo had to bring it all together because not only was he compromised going in that second round, but as you're saying, that glimpse of light came through because in the second round, Marlon Moraes started to back off a little bit. Henry Cejudo started to use a lot of that cardio, a lot of that pressure, which here at Appy, we were saying, the longer the fight goes, the better it becomes for Henry Cejudo. And that was exactly what happened. Marlon Moraes started to gas, and all of a sudden that phase change started to happen where Cejudo was looking more confident. Moraes was like, oh shit, this guy's not stopping. Was there an actual break in here that would have been a TKO earlier in the fight? Because Marlon Moraes ate a direct shot to the eye and said, hold on, ref, I got poked. And Mark Goddard in there, whoever was in there, I think it was Goddard, was like, oh, I saw it on the break, I saw it. Yeah. Give him a break. They went back and replayed it. So direct shot. That's TKO, buddy. That's TKO. Go to the replay. That's a finish. A fighter cannot dictate what the ref does. And that was exactly what happened in this.
And it was a clean punch. There was no poke about it at all. And he got a... The other funny thing about it, though, is DC's like... Usually get a little longer for that. Like,
DC was like, you give 2 minutes and 40 seconds for a dick kick. You get 3 minutes for a dick. By the way,
he was calling out the... Because he knew he plays that dirty pool.
There was a controversial groin strike, one we don't see often. It's a unicorn in MMA. We had Nina Asneroff taking...
You should have highlighted that.
A heavy-duty knee to the groin, and it was pain. Nina, I mean, she took it like a champ, but that looked like her pelvic bone was bruised.
I said she was like a 7-year-old falling on 10 speed.
And
then just fell to the side like a Jim Carrey movie. Like,
it hurts ladies
in slow
too.
motion.
So that was brutal, but this eye poke definitely was not just Moraes using some of his veteranship in there to get a break. And he was sucking for air at that point. That was definitely a break in there. Henry Cejudo in that third round in that second round, turning it around with that clinch. Once he realized that it was working in the first, that's what he got in for that third landing. I mean, he was pretty much a stepper. He was one of them ladies in the aerobic classes just like, let's go, ladies. Now you're going to do 20. Now you're going to do 20.
He was just clenching and go. He was like a rocket. Dun, 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 dun. That's a free meme. You guys can take that.
Henry Cejudo, though, showing that gold medal stature. We're telling you he's got the heart of a champion, and it showed through here. A lot of guys wanted to come back with that injury, which post-fight, he officially showed, his improperly taped mats.
So I wanted to say that was my dessert of eating crow a little bit of my 3 things that I did with throughout the night that were a little wrong, from Angela Hill to Grasso, and now this is, I kind of, like, I didn't mock you, but I was just like, that sounds silly. Maybe he was just yelling. Henry seems like a crazy guy. So to hear him say it afterward, no, I didn't want to tell you guys, but I was injured. I had sprained my ankle, and so the first strike that we thought that Marlon had hurt his leg,
right?
It wasn't the old injury you were talking about in the hotel room. So, yeah, that's winding it back a little bit before we get into this nasty.
For that matter, we didn't touch on this, and I know we're bouncing around everywhere. Tiefer at times looked like his leg hurt. His surgery leg. We
were scared, but we also didn't know if we were just being... Well, Henry said he wasn't going to be able to walk for a few
Well, you saw him in a wheelchair post-fight because this did end up going into the third round. Moraes really not going back to those leg kicks, really being winded after that second round, but Henry was essentially knocking out or knocking down Moraes, ringing his bell with strikes and knees in there. Third round comes around, and it was just more of the same.
Henry's getting beat, or he was beating up Moraes everywhere.
Exactly.
Third.
It wasn't a flat KO. It wasn't a Jessica I. Shevchenko type of KO. It was accumulation of punches. It was hammer fists finally when Henry got it down. Moraes was just holding on for his life. He wasn't trying to submit. He was just trying to not get punched. And a couple hammer fists finish at 4 minutes and 51 seconds of the third round. I thought it was going to go to decision. I'm happy it didn't, because on DK for 7,900, we told you 5 rounds. You got to play Henry everywhere. You got to have that Bandits bonus. It ended up coming through again, plus money all over the place. I parlayed him with Ivanov and a couple Aljo stuff. I just ended up really getting that Bovada account heavy. Fans, if you have any recommendations for a betting site that actually live bets these fights, please suggest it, because I feel like when we're chatting here, that's when we're like, oh, we need to put money on them right now, because it's plus these turnarounds that Cejudo has, and we see it in other fights as well. And it's like, my Bovada account just doesn't do that. I can put in other bets, but not these live ones where I'm like, basketball does it. They do it for basketball. Why can't they do it for MMA?
Yeah, it would be nice if there was just somebody that was just taking a little more pride in MMA. Hopefully, ESPN, everybody's been saying that it's bringing a lot more eyes, and they're blowing up everywhere. Even Fight Pass has more subscribers now. It's like they didn't even know it existed, but now because of ESPN, people know it's there. So who knows? Dana's always lying.
How would you rate
He
this
knows Dana's always lying.
in an American grading system from A to F? What would you rate this card for a pay-per-view in general for the year?
It was an A. I gave you everything you wanted, a little bit of everything you wanted. Was there any submissions? I don't think there was one submission throughout the night.
I think you're correct on that. There was not a submission, but finishes throughout the night.
Yeah, finishes where you wouldn't have
Even close to
them.
finishes, both sides. Such a fun fight card. One that's going to go down in the ages. Another one for Lat B, again, that's going to come out on top here. 10 of 13. What else do you want from us, people?
I know. Is there another fight card coming up, or people are just going to have to tune in and subscribe?
We got 1 week off, and then we're coming at you.
I'm going to need a nap after this fight card.
If you, just like Jessica I, gonna need a little break.
Yeah, I'm gonna need
from consciousness.
Yeah, a little taking it easy. Oh, that just says it so good that you could see her in the background like, did I get knocked out? That's how I feel like after this. Did I get knocked out? My DraftKings feels like ready to play a little NBA. Is there fights coming up that we have to worry about?
No, there is not next week. We have a week off, and then we have a fight card that's going to be on ESPN Plus. Couldn't tell you the exact headliners right now because I ain't even in that frame of mind. I know I got a week off. Cool. I get to chill out, watch a good amount of tape. Dana White Contender Series coming around the corner. That's going to be filling up time. The only reason I might get my freaking Fight Pass back.
You might get Fight Pass back?
Yeah, because I got rid of it a little while ago. But now that Dana White is only on there, I kind of enjoyed the Dana White Contender Series.
Oh, and he's only on that?
Yeah,
I thought I could find it on ESPN.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Oh, no. We're going to have to look into that, too. So make sure you're liking and subscribing, and we appreciate you.
Like me!